in it so we don't see anything, but we're going to change that right now by right-clicking and choosing New File. Go ahead and call it hello world.html. You need to have an HTML file in order to run your JavaScript, so we'll create an HTML as a container for our project. A few things you want to make sure you've done: folder, and go and choose the folder you just created. Here we see the folder I just created. We will select that here and choose the select folder button. I will put a link to those videos at the bottom. I have my browser. All right, welcome back, students. In this video, I'm going to show you how to complete a basic Hello World project in JavaScript. This is typically one of the first projects you do in any new programming language. First of all, you're going to see on the screen here, I have my brackets started up. This is the IDE, or Independent Development Environment, that we're going to use in this class. So make sure you've downloaded and configured brackets according to my instructions in another video. I will put a link to those videos at the bottom of this video so you can go and watch those first. One of the most important things you need to do is set up your working folder. I'm going to go over to my Windows Explorer here. I'm working on a PC, by the way, and I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this Hello World. Typically, you don't want to put any spaces in the names of your folders or your files, so write it the way I have it there. And this is where all of the files for our project are going to live, in this folder. Going back to brackets now, to set up your project, go to File, Open Folder, and go and choose the folder you just created. Here we see the folder I just created. We will select that here and choose the select folder button. Now you see over on the left, it references this project, and there's no files in it so we don't see anything, but we're going to change that right now by right-clicking and choosing New File. Go ahead and call it hello world.html. You need to have an Here we see the folder I just created. We will select that here and choose the select folder button. Now you see over on the left, it references this project, and there's no files in it so we don't see anything, but we're going to change that right now by right-clicking and choosing New File. Go ahead and call it hello world.html. You need to have an HTML file in order to run your JavaScript, so we'll create an HTML as a container for our project. A few things you want to make sure you've done: it has to have the .html extension on the end of it here, and down here in the lower right, you can see a place where you can choose the language that you're writing in. It should have chosen HTML by default because you put the HTML extension on the end of the file name, but if not, you'll want to change that there to HTML. Now, if you've installed the Emmet extension, which I talk about in my other video, all you have to do is go ! and tab, and like magic, it creates the basic structure of an HTML file. Tab, file name, but if not, you'll want to change that there to HTML. Now, if you've installed the Emmet extension, which I talk about in my other video, all you have to do is go ! and tab, and like magic, it creates the basic structure of an HTML file for you in this hello world.html file. This is great. And so I encourage you to use Emmet if you can. If you don't have Emmet installed, then you'll just need to type all of this into your document. Go ahead and pause the video and type what you see into your document. All right, let's give it a title. Hello World in JavaScript is what we're doing in this assignment. All right, let's give it a little bit of HTML. I'm going to use an H1 document, H1 tag. Just give it a title. How about an H2? Something like that. Just that. Then, of course, we need a little bit of directions. We're going to put a button on this page. And so we'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to put that down below there, and maybe a little bit of instructions like click the button below to start the program. Okay, and we want the button there at the bottom of all of that. We'll set up our button in a minute. We'll come back to that. Okay, in order for our program to work, we need to have JavaScript, but we're not going to write the JavaScript in this HTML file. We're going to do it a little bit more of a professional way, which is to create a separate JS file that we're going to put all our JavaScript in. It is possible to put your JavaScript right into the HTML document. You can do it that way. But I'm going to have us put it in a separate file because it's a little bit better way to do it. And it allows the brackets and the JS hint extension that we're using to properly debug our JavaScript. And in order for that to happen, you have to have your JavaScript in a separate file. All right, I'm going to go over here and create a new JS file. We're going to call this with the same name, Hello World but JS. Hello World.js is our new file. And you're going to see that it has a different icon here representing it. This is a JS file. Now to make sure, once again, we'll come down and make sure that JS or JavaScript has been chosen as our language over here, which it has. All right, we are ready to go. Now we're going to go back to our HTML file, and it's the next step is to link our HTML file to our JavaScript file. Until we do that, these two files won't talk to each other. So we'll do that. We'll use the script tag, and inside the opening script tag, so inside that opening tag, we need to put the source attribute, and the source attribute equals, and then you can see, put the equal sign, double quotes, and then choose the Hello World JS that is listed there. Okay, and that's all it takes to link this HTML file up to the JS file, the external JS file that we're using. Now the last step in linking our HTML to our JS file in this program is to link our button to the JS file. Okay, to do that, we're going to create a function in the JS file, and then when we click on this button, we're going to call that function. Let's go over to the JS file and start out by creating a function. We'll just call it start. You really could call it anything you want, but we're going to use something straightforward like that. We have now in our JS file, we have a start function that will be called when we click the button. Go back to the HTML file. Inside the button, we're going to create what's called an onClick event. And when we do that, it's going to call start function. So the word start with the parentheses included will set it up so that the button calls the start function. One last thing with the button The button will be an empty button that doesn't have any words on it unless we put something here. So let's just call it the enter button, for example. And now the word enter will be on the button, the face of the button, and we'll see that. So we're pretty good here. We've got a lot going on, so let's save this all. And when we hit Control S or save, we can see it reconfigures everything, sets up the indenting properly. And again, that's an extension that I showed you that you should install in your brackets. So go watch my other video. And this is looking pretty good. Now, in order to test this, we're going to go over and click the lightning bolt live preview button here on the upper right corner, and it will open your browser of choice. I've got Chrome set up, and it will run the program. All right, just like that, we have an HTML file loaded into a browser, and it's looking just like we have the H1 tag, the H2, we have a paragraph. Click the lightning bolt live preview button here on the upper right corner, and it will open your browser of choice. I've got Chrome set up, and it will run the program. All right, just like that, we have an HTML file loaded into a browser, and it's looking just like we have the H1 tag, the H2, we have a paragraph, and we have a button that says enter on it. And when I click on this button, it will call that function, start function, that we created in our JS file. Let's click it, and nothing happens. The reason nothing happens is because we didn't write anything inside that start function. A hello world program in any language is designed just to practice doing input and output into your language of choice. And so in JavaScript, we want to demonstrate here how to do basic input, basic output. We're going to start with the output. There are two primary ways that we will do output in JavaScript in this class. The first is to use the console. And so we're going to go ahead and write console.log. What this does is log or outputs a message to the web console. And so console.log parentheses, and inside the parentheses, you're going to put the message, the words, the text, the numbers, whatever it is. It's just a string because it's contained within quotes. The string, we're going to output that using console.log. So hello world, again, is our message. We're going to use console.log and put that out to the web console. Let's save this. And I have my JS hint open down here. It's going to give me little hints. I forgot my semicolon on this line. Let's go ahead and put that in. And it also says console is not defined. You can ignore that error. Let's go back to the HTML file. You have to be in the HTML file with that saved and updated before you hit your live preview button to see your results. console is not defined, you can ignore that error. Let's go back to the HTML file. You have to be in the HTML file with that saved and updated before you hit your